Welcome back to the Daily Drum on WHUR and Sirius XM Channel 141. This is the Insight segment. I'm Harold Fisher. Tonight, we're going inside the classroom to talk about the pressures reshaping education in America, from teacher shortages and burnout to growing debates over curriculum, leadership, and who gets to shape education policy. Educators are facing challenges like never before. So, what does the future of teaching and learning look like? How do we support the people at the heart of it all, our teachers? We're opening the textbook or laptop or tablet with the newly elected president of the Association of Teacher Educators, Dr. Jennifer Young Wallace. Dr. Wallace, thank you so much for joining the conversation. I really appreciate your time. And by the way, congratulations on your election to the office.
Thank you.
You're quite welcome. I want to talk a little bit about what it means for you to step into this role at such a pivotal moment for education.
Well, Harold, this is a moment in history for me. We know that there are a lot of changes in America. We know that there are a lot of changes in education from state to state to state. There are a lot of challenges. So as my presidential theme, I've chosen to leave a stamp on education. So it is empowering a global community of leaders to leave a stamp, capital STAMP, on education. The S stands for social emotional learning. T stands for transformational leadership. A stands for advocacy. M stands for multiculturalism. And P stands for professional practices. Now, all of those are researched, right? And they're based on the challenges and concerns that we're having in education right now as we're speaking. Right now, we're having to show love to students because if it were left up to some of our legislators, our students wouldn't have free education. They wouldn't have the people who are there to make a difference in their life, right? And so now we also have transformational leadership. We're at a time where we need it. We need people who understand what's happening, who can take what they have and make something work and make a difference in these students' lives. Advocacy. For example, in Mississippi, we had to advocate just in Mississippi for no free choice. We don't want to take public dollars and use it in private schools. So that's the advocacy piece. And then there is the multiculturalism. Who are we as teachers? Do we know who we are as we are interacting with students who come from different cultures? Are we so obsessed with who we are that we are not able to understand the differences that the population in our classrooms have? And then the professional practices that deals with the content knowledge, that deals with how you deliver. Are you using differentiated instructions? Are you modeling? So all of these are very important right now in the state that we're in education. We are trying to make a difference, and we educators are really advocates at least, and we are excited about what we are doing. We have this passion, and we want people to listen as we try to transform lives.
For those who may not be familiar with the Association of Teacher Educators, and just as an aside, you are currently in the DMV meeting later this week with a conference theme, empowering a global community of leaders to leave a stamp on education, as you were talking about. Kind of give me the cliff notes of this organization.
So ATE is an organization that was designed to support professors in colleges who teach in colleges of education. So we know that most universities have a college of education, even if it is combined with another college, but there's a college of education. So we as educators train teachers, right? These are your teacher ed majors, English, elementary ed, English ed, counselors, principals, psychometrists, math teachers, right? So this organization, it consists primarily of professors from universities all over the United States. We are not an organizational membership. We are an individual membership. So we have about 1,800 members of professors from all over the United States and from Europe. For example, we're having the president of the Association of Teacher Educators in Europe to be present at this particular conference, and they are bringing some of their members from the continent of Europe. So this organization focuses on empowering, providing teachers with the opportunity, the experience to come and share so that we can learn from each other and go back into our spaces and do good work with these students, because we have the passion. So teaching is an ongoing development, right? For me as a professor, as an educator, I was once in K-12. The trends were constantly changing. So I don't get to say I've maxed out. So teachers are constantly evolving, and they're constantly developing. And this organization provides that platform for teachers to come together and share and learn from each other.
When you look at some of the things that modern teachers are going through, and as you are in doing the work of training the next generation of teachers, what is the thing that concerns you the most?
Right now, and this falls under advocacy, right now, this critical race theory ban is really important to me, because I see it as erasing authentic history. Personally, I don't even know why we call it a critical race theory. We're teaching facts. You don't want books that depict how America has evolved, which is history, right? You don't want teachers to teach authentic history. That is one of my biggest concerns, is that politics are so embedded in our schools that they're telling our teachers what they can and cannot teach. So I've done a lot of research on critical race theory and what it could look like and how it can impact us in the future. As we are taking things out and saying that, well, we don't want students to know this, and this, then we are taking away history. As I tell everybody when I speak across the nation, facts are facts. So you're teaching facts, right? Slavery existed. Beatings existed. Families were separated. The Holocaust existed. This is authentic history. I don't even know why we're calling it critical race theory. I just say this is authentic history. Let's allow teachers to teach and have that autonomy to teach what has occurred in America and anywhere else.
So when you talk to teachers, whether they are in primary or secondary education, or even if they are aspiring college professors, what do you tell them about the pressures that they may feel in teaching the facts about American history right now?
Well, that's a very touchy situation, because one of the major impacts is that teachers don't know what to teach. Teachers don't even know what to say. So that was once this surge to teach critical thinking, analytical thinking, which is reflective of Bloom's taxonomy that has evolved over the years. teachers were focused on teaching those types of approaches to learning, right? So that our students could think critically, right? And understand conflict resolution and all of the above. Now they're telling us to take certain things out, and teachers don't know what to say. Teachers are really confused. Just the other day in the news in Mississippi, a teacher was reprimanded because he thought he was just teaching, and a child went home and told her parent that the teacher made a political statement. So things that teachers were once teaching to promote critical thinking and analytical thinking have now become taboo because teachers are confused. They're afraid. And if this persists in a district, districts can lose their money. Mississippi is one of the many states who have gotten on board with the critical race theory ban, which I don't know why we're calling it critical race theory. Is teaching authentic history or teaching authentic lessons. So now teachers are confused. As we are preparing to teach our educators how to go out there and make a difference, we're having to make some adjustments because I work for a public school. My university, Jackson State University, is a public university. And so that ban also applies to us as leaders, right? So as we're training teachers, we're having to be in compliance with what the state policies and restrictions are at this time. Hopefully it will change. Again, trends constantly change. So what we're telling teachers, I train principals when we're in the school, as students who are working on their doctorates, I share with them, you all make sure that you're in compliance right now because people can't lose their jobs, right? They have to live. Make sure you're in compliance and make sure you have a clear understanding what those limits are. That's the state that we're in at this moment.
You speak about the issues of race, of history. You are a product of an HBCU. You work for an HBCU. What impact do you believe your personal education has had and is having on the work that you are doing right now?
So I am a graduate of Alcorn State University. While on that campus, first of all, the social emotional piece that's in my stamp, the social emotional piece was there before it was coined. I went to school in the 80s, right? Late 80s, from 87 to 91. I was an undergraduate at Alcorn State University. And I know I'm telling my age. I'm getting on my age.
That's all right. I was out of college. I was out of college when you were a freshman. But go ahead.
So the teachers there, it was very diverse: Hispanic, African American, Caucasian, Asian, just very diverse. The teachers in that setting created an atmosphere where students were nurtured, right? We were nurtured with rigor. So I say nurtured, but also with the understanding that there are these expectations. And so having come from that and now working at Jackson State with those high expectations, we still care about our students. And I'm not saying that no other university cares about their student. I'm focusing on what we're doing at Jackson State. We care about our students. We do what we can to help our students succeed. So having that background, coming from that environment of care and passion, it's inevitable that once you get in a position that you are serving such a population, you bring those characteristics along with you. So at Jackson State, we're focused on how we can do better so that our students can do better as they are going out into this global world. Because now we've come out of the box at Jackson State. We're out of the box. We are thinking globally. We want our students to go to Belgium, and we want our students to go to Spain and Rome. We want our students to go there and be successful, right? So we are focusing on that nurture that helps to build their content knowledge, their skills, but also to build their confidence, to build their awareness, to build their encouragement and inspiration, so that they can go out and be successful. That's what we're focusing on. And I think that background has been very pivotal in the person that I am.
Mm-hmm. Hold that point. I'm going to take a break. We want to remind our listeners that you can hear this and every edition of the Daily Drum Insight segment via podcast on WHUR.com. The original Quiet Storm with Raheem Devon is coming up next on WHUR-FM. This conversation continues on Sirius XM channel 141 in just a few seconds. Welcome back to the Daily Drum on Sirius XM channel 141. I'm Harold Fisher. We continue our conversation about the future of education with the president of the Association of Teacher Educators, Dr. Jennifer Young Wallace. I want to go back to what is happening as it relates to the classroom, and when families are kind of watching the news, paying attention to what is happening in their prospective communities. Should they be concerned about the long-term impact of teacher shortages on student learning? It seems that just about every school district, and I know here in the District of Columbia, and in the DMV, I should say, that there have been struggles with recruitment, and not just sticking any teacher in any class, but making sure that teachers who have specialized training or expertise are in the right place.
So I can speak to that very candidly.
Mm-hmm.
Teacher shortage is worldwide. I was in Ireland, maybe last August. I was in London, England. I was in Wales, talking to educators. They have the same issue. They have the same issues. They call theirs political invasion. They have teacher shortage. They have the same issues all over the world, especially talking to those people from those countries. The issues are there. So what are we doing in the colleges of education across universities and colleges in the United States? As we are collaborating here, even at this conference, some of our major topics, our major presentations are around teacher shortages. What are states doing? How can we impact legislation? How can we get legislators to hear from us? I even did an interview with one of the Mississippi's representatives, Representative Edward Blackman, and he shared with me how to even get in the door so that our leaders can listen to us as we share with them our issues in education. So how are we addressing the shortage? And I do believe that in Mississippi, we are making that wave, right? We are on that wave. The Mississippi Department of Education works very diligently with districts. They work with universities to see and talk about ways that we can impact this. So now with legislators given this raise, that could be a plus. But there was a time when educators were teaching in schools and they left schools. Our best teachers and best principals left K-12 districts to go into private industries that were paying them six figures or even close to six figures, which was a big jump from $40,000 or $50,000 to $185,000 to $100,000+. So that shortage is still there, but I have been in conversations, I would say, that have been centered around how can we keep our good teachers? What incentives are out there to keep them in the schools? Now, the colleges of education again prepare students. We are always looking at ways, especially in the sciences. I know all across the nation the sciences have the lack or the shortage of teachers. Biology, chemistry, physics. There are those big shortages in math, geometry, trigonometry. So students who are math majors, I know at Jackson State, students who are math majors, we have collaborated with those instructors and chairs of those departments to just talk to those students. Go on and get certified. This is how you can get certified. I know you are a chemistry major, and you just may want to go to med school. However, let me show you how you can get certified to teach and make a difference. And some of our students have gone into education through our MAT program, which I know at our university, Dr. Dennis Williams does an astronomical job at getting teachers certified. So they go through those programs once they get degrees and they get certified, and we try to move them into the school system. Now, this is where the big problem can come in. You're in a state that doesn't pay, but so students move to New York or they go to Houston, right there, adjacent, not too far from Mississippi. They go to Memphis. They go there because the salaries are bigger. So that's why Mississippi is trying to give these teachers these raises, because we're training them almost to leave us, and that's not what we want to do.
So, and certainly, that is, where your, familiarity is as it relates to Mississippi, as you know, when it comes to educational ranking, for example, Mississippi has been near the bottom of the 50 states, but and that certainly is. That certainly is an issue, and that's a
So
huge
let me interject.
Go ahead.
Interject right here. For reading, we came up. Mississippi is in the top, I think the top 10. We moved up that reading scale. We came up with that third grade initiative, of reading initiative. Our students, Mississippi has moved up. We have come from the bottom, and we're excited about it. So again, it's collaborations with other states. Like, what are you doing? What are you all doing to make sure that our students are learning to read? Because we understand if they have not learned how to read by the third grade, there are some that's problematic, because they keep getting farther and farther behind. So Mississippi came up with third grade initiative, and it has worked. We have moved up, and we're excited about that. Again, that comes through collaboration. We're looking at the data. If you read different articles, you'll see that the data indicated that by the time students got to sixth grade, they were not even on the third grade level. So
I guess my question is, and this is less about the students and more about the teachers.
Okay.
What do you in 2026?
Okay.
Why should someone want to be a teacher, considering all of the challenges that they are facing when you're talking about school systems, local or state, complaining that they don't have enough money, when teachers' salaries, in big cities often command big salaries, but you need teachers in places other than just big cities. When safety and security is an issue, when students aren't necessarily the way they were when you and I were in primary or secondary education classes, where teachers didn't have to worry about being physically attacked by students. God forbid. I don't know about your parents, but I do know about, it would be I would be safer with the police than I would have been with my parents had I attacked or thought or breathed or thought about attacking a teacher. But I say all that to say, what do you tell them Uh, why should somebody want to be a teacher now?
You know, that is a very good question. And that is the question that colleges, professors are asking themselves because we're out there recruiting for our programs. What can we offer them? And that is why we're having to go and have conversations with our legislators, right? Because other than you just really want to be a teacher. Your
Hmm.
grandmama was a teacher, your mama was a teacher, your great grandmama, your aunts, the passion, right? The passion. What we are going to have to really address this issue. And I at this point that that's a very hard question to answer because when you are trying to recruit and encourage that, then you're going to get all of these questions from them. But we have to deal with this, we have to deal with that, and there's no support, and there's no parental support, and the parents are worse than the children, and the pay, and it's not all of this, Dr. Wallace, is just not worth the pay, right? What do you tell a student? What so those are things besides encouragement and saying this is your passion. You're making a difference. You're making a difference. You can do this. If this is what you really want to do, you make the best out of it. Right now, we're still trying to find the best, I guess, elevator speech right now for that. Accept
Hmm.
passion, and that's what you love. Because I asked myself, why was I a teacher? I
And,
loved teaching.
and so, what was the answer?
My answer
Why
was
did you do that?
because I loved to teach. I loved to make a difference. Even as and my mom said when I was growing up, I have a sister, Gwendolyn Young, and it's just two of us, and I would always be the teacher. My mom said when I went to Head Start, kindergarten, Head Start, the teacher told her, Miss Young, Jennifer is out here teaching the students. I don't even have to teach them anything. Jennifer is teaching. So it's innate, right? So the ones that are innate, we're gonna get them. But there are some who are not, who don't have that legacy of teachers, or who may not necessarily have that innate skill. What do we tell them? So, and our biggest pitch is you're making a difference in lives.
When
If
you
this is
talk when you talk to teachers who may be at a career crossroads where they are trying to make a decision as to whether or not to continue teaching or do something else, what is it that they tell you that they need the most? And it may be one thing, it may be several things, but what are you hearing from them that would help them better do their jobs?
parental support,
Hmm.
district support. So every district wants parental involvement. I do think that there has to be a clear understanding of what parents' involvement is as it relates to the classroom, right? So I do believe in parental involvement because I think about the times that we were in school, the parents, we didn't play, like you said, we rather have been with the police than our mom or grandmom if we had shown out. These teachers want support. They want to feel appreciated. And what I think the most, remember I told you trends are changing. Sometimes teachers feel that things keep adding to them. So when I
Hmm.
was a teacher, I realized it's like I had this epiphany. This is really nothing new. It's just it's a new way of saying it, maybe with a few pieces to relate to this time. But I'm pretty much doing this, and this is how I can incorporate this that you're telling me I need to add. So a lot of times I think by showing teachers that it sounds new, but you're probably already doing it and you don't know you're doing it. Now you're going to be more intentional about it. So helping teachers to understand the incorporation of new ideals may not necessarily be something extra, right? So because they feel overwhelmed. But the biggest thing is not, teachers don't feel appreciated. That's what I hear all the time, more so than anything, that they don't feel appreciated. And not just by their districts or their principals, but even by the parents. So how you engage parents is important as an educator, but also how you view what you think is overwhelming can also make a difference. So that's what I share with teachers.
I want to drill down a little bit more on the parenting piece because and again, looking at it from the perspective of educators in this area, one of the things that we hear from just about every superintendent that we speak to on this program, whether it's in Northern Virginia, the District of Columbia, in suburban Maryland, obviously everybody wants more money to do the things that they need to do. They want more teachers who may have certain specialties, whether it's special education or STEM. But universally, they talk about parental participation. And so how, in your mind, does parental participation impact the education of the child and make a teacher feel make a teacher feel appreciated? What does that participation look like?
That's a very good question. So I've been in that space. I've been in K-12.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just say this first. No parent wants to always get a phone call that her child is showing out in class.
Mm-hmm.
So that's building relationships right there. You have to build a relationship with these parents. So first of all, it looks like getting to know your parents, getting to know your students, and getting to know their parents. Let me give you an example. That was a student I remember would cut up. And we had to call the parents in because the student would get rather violent. And this was a regular education student.
Mm-hmm.
So one day, as you know, after working with this student, I stayed with him. And one day I called the parent and I said, "Hello, Miss So-and-so." And she said, then I wasn't married and I didn't have a doctor. "Miss Young, what did so-and-so do?" I was like, "Oh no, I called to tell you that your child made a B+ on the test. He was responsive to the assignments." She was like, and she was at work. She was like, she started crying, first of all. And she was like, "Oh my God, you have made my day." I did not know, I was not intentional about doing this. I just happened to do this because I knew she had been hearing bad news and I was so proud of him. Then after I saw the impact it had on that parent, I became intentional. So teachers have to be intentional about sharing good news as well as those challenges, the challenges that the students may face. That's one way. Now, there are still going to be some parents who are just, I don't know if they don't care or if they feel that they're at school, you handle it, or if it's just a lack of knowledge. I have argued that we really have to spend more time with meeting parents where they are, because I know some districts that have programs for parents who don't have diplomas. They help those parents get GEDs. So now there's this buy-in, and so the parent now becomes a part of the district and becomes a part of the learning environment. So I think for teachers, including in a way that doesn't sound practice. People want to feel that you care. Again, that's where that social emotional piece comes in. People want to feel that this is not routine. You're not checking this off. And I tell teachers, you don't want to just check this off. You want to build a relationship with your parent that if you call them, they will be like our parents were. Because now, back then teachers didn't have to build a relationship. We're in a new era. So you're going to have to be intentional about it. And so once you get them involved, at least you can get some discipline, because that's one of the biggest issues. We need parents to help with the discipline. And we need parents to know that we care about their children, but we need their help with discipline. How are we going to get their help? We're going to have to build those relationships.
That's interesting that you would talk about calling a parent and sharing good news as a non-teacher and as somebody who used to cut up in school. Yes, I would imagine that any student would dread hearing that their parent or that their teacher was calling to talk to your parent. And I would imagine that most parents would only expect to see good news in a progress report or a report card or parent-teacher conference, but not some random phone call that just says, well, this is what Johnny did today. And I think that in looking at it, I think more holistically, yes, even if I only got a phone call from a teacher once a month about something that my child did that was good, that you may not see on a report card or on a progress report, whether it was in an email, text message, or a phone call, would certainly help build that relationship. Would that require more work? Yes. Might it require some teachers to have to dig a little bit deeper to find something that little Johnny or little Susie did that was good, particularly if they were not the best students? But even for the absolute best students who only get those reports in a progress report or phone call or report card, I do believe that would give a parent pause to be more active in participating in their child's education.
Yes, it would. It would. I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen. And technology has also shifted how a lot of districts are more frequent, because now parents have access to different databases where they can go in and see their students' performance, or get comments from the students. Comments from the parents. So there is that mechanism in place where it has evolved to a more engaging relationship. But the caveat is some parents don't have internet in homes. So that works very good for those opulent school districts or those opulent areas where parents have master's, bachelor's, doctorate degrees, terminal degrees. And there are some districts that still have programs like that where they may not have as much interaction. So that is one conduit for them to share more. But I still believe nothing is better than that personal touch.
Let me ask you about how teaching has evolved since the pandemic.
So do you mean on a college campus, or do you mean
No, I mean just teaching in general, not necessarily on the college campus, but what do you believe that teachers who are going to get an education in education and then leave, because those that are coming through college now, those who perhaps will graduate in the the class of 2026 or those who graduated in the class of 2025, they started college while the pandemic was still going on. And so what they're being taught about education and the children that they will encounter, what do you think the how would you say that teaching new teachers has evolved since the pandemic?
So we do know that when the pandemic hit, that was trying time,
Hmm.
especially in rural states, not just Mississippi, but Mississippi has a rural area. But you're talking about when you start talking about Utah and Wyoming, that where it's spread apart, school houses and communities. So the pandemic brought a challenge of its own. Technology, understand teachers have to understand the use of technology as a teaching tool, right? I mean, that's just inevitable. Even so we know we have platforms like Blackboard and Canvas, right? A lot of K-12 organizations use Canvas, where teachers are having to learn how to use it. It was like when computers first came out, we had to learn the basics at least of computers. So now when the pandemic came, teachers had to just learn the basics of online teaching. Then once that we got past that, then you have to know how to be engaging online.
Mm.
Even I, as a professor, I went through an AQ training at Jackson State where it taught us how to be engaging for our college students online. And so I think that teachers coming into the field have to be comfortable with the possibility of using those platforms extensively, because we don't ever know what could happen that we may have to go back to that. And the pandemic changed that the whole way of thinking about such possibilities. And
Yeah.
so once we got past the basics of learning how to log in and how to put up our assignments, now we have to move to the next level. How do we ensure that our students are engaging, that we're engaging, that we are using this platform with precision and the opportunities that those platforms can allow us.
Yeah.
So now that's where teachers have to come in right now, not just knowing how to use the mechanics of these programs, but also learning how to engage their students so that their students come out with the same knowledge as if they were in a classroom, physical classroom.
Yeah, I am out of time, Dr. Wallace, but I really appreciate you sharing your insight and your thoughts about teaching, about education, and kind of where we go from here. Certainly, a lot of work yet to do. And again, congratulations on
Thank you.
your appointment as president of the Association of Teacher Educators. Enjoy your time in the DMV, and I'm sure we'll be talking again.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity. God bless.
You're quite welcome. That is the Daily Drum for this Thursday, February 5th. I'm Harold Fisher.